I want to go into this one topic, this one incident, so to speak. And I'm a little, I'm gonna say I'm a little peeved by it. I really, really am. That there's a bunch of stupid people out here in the world. Let's be totally honest. Um, I was having this conversation at work with an associate, and we were talking about one of the individuals at the job, and I said, well, here's the thing you have to look at. As long as there's stupid people in the world, we're going to have a job because we're the ones that are sent in to clean up this mess. Okay. Now, this particular story is it centers around this kidnapping. Now at first it was a kidnapping. Now um, it's the alleged kidnapping. Now it's turned out to be a complete hoax. Now, about a week ago, a young woman by the name of Carly Russell uh, stated that she was on the side, that she was going down the road and she observed a small child walking down the shoulder of the highway. Okay, let's start right there. Okay, and anybody that's got halfway decent common sense, we're like, okay, that's suspect. Okay, but it's not to say that it's not plausible, but it is suspect. Okay, so I'm gonna just give you the raw story. Okay, Carly Russell, Carly Russell, a 26-year-old Alabama woman believed to have gone missing while driving home from work, has officially shared her side of the story. Russell's attorney, now let's start right there. Now she's got an attorney. Okay, provided a statement on her behalf to the Hoover Police Chief Nick Durzik during the press conference July 24th. There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th of 2023, the lawyer said. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. Russell's attorney also clarified that she did not have any help during the incident. This was a simple act done by herself. The statement continues. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone from the time she was missing. My client apologized for her actions um, to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, as also especially the Hoover Police Department and other agencies as well. Now, this is the part that really blows me. You know what? We ask for your prayers for Carly as she addresses her issues and attempt to move forward. Understand that she made a mistake in the matter. Now let's stop. I'm going to pause right there. A mistake is what I would consider a mistake. A mistake is basically making a turn down a turn down a one-way street, and then you realize it's a one-way, or dropping a envelope in the mailbox without the stamp. That's a mistake. That was not something that you sat down and you planned on doing. This woman here, this is a conscious decision. This is not a mistake. This is a conscious decision. Okay, a conscious decision. You decide to create this hoax of a child on the side of the highway, and then you going missing. Now, let me give you more of the backstory. She stated that while she was attempting to, quote, rescue the child, a man she had never seen came from nowhere and abducted her and forced her into a car. And she was then, quote, I'm quoting her words, she struggled. I was struggling for my life for 48 hours. Okay. Now, like I say, I'm going to pause right there. Now, here's the thing. Make no mistake about this. She is going to, that's why she has a lawyer, and her lawyer says instructing her not to say too much. But here's the thing. She is going to be charged. Make no mistake about that. She's going to be charged with filing a false police report. And not only that, she can and will be made to to but to reimburse any and all agencies for the manpower that they use and the resources that they use. She's going to be made to um, rectify that. But the biggest thing is that she's subject to be facing criminal charges. And my bet, and I'm a betting man, she's going to be facing some serious charges. Most likely. And if they do ask for time, most likely, because if she's a first-time offender, most likely she'll get probation. She might wind up getting 3 years, but just say for the sake of argument, she wind up doing 18 months. Okay, let's say for the sake of argument. But I'm going to continue on. As we ask for prayers for Carly as she addresses the issue, attempts to move on, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter, Carly again asks for your forgiveness and prayers. As the parade previously reported, Russell called 911 July 13th, alleging that she had seen a toddler walking on the highway. The woman then called a family member to share the same encounter. When police arrived, they found Russell's car and belongings, but no trace of her or the child. Russell returned home on foot about 10:45 p.m. on July 15th, following a 49-hour search into her disappearance. In an earlier press conference held July 19th, Hoover police revealed that Russell's search history on her cell phone included queries like, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert or search?" People, let's be clear about something, especially for those slow people in the room. We live in an age of some serious technology. Serious. Let's be clear about that. Okay. As long as you have Siri, Google, Alexa, there's almost nothing that it won't find, that it won't ascertain or find. Okay. We have we have this, with the thing where people have Google and they say, "Hey, Google, find such and such and such," or "Hey, Google, play this particular music," or "Alexa, how much is there, how far is it here, or how far is it there, blah blah blah." These various AI technology is practically a footprint that we continue to leave unsuspectingly, like what she just did. She made inquiries into, do you have to pay for an Amber Alert or search, how to take money from a register without being caught, as well as Birmingham bus station, one-way ticket from Birmingham to Nashville, and the movie Taken the days before she vanished. There's no other searches on Carly's phone that appear to shed light on her mindset, but out of the respect of her privacy, we will not release the content of those searches at this time. Okay. That we could, let's just cross the street for a moment and say that this woman, she did this, and she very well could be suffering from some form of mental illness. She could very well be suffering from that and decided to do this. Okay. Now and when we talk about situations like this and mental illness, we have to understand that people who do suffer from certain forms of mental illness are not fully in control of their faculties. Okay. Such as people who suffer from chronic depression or or anxiety, or they have they're bipolar, or they have a combination of bipolar depression. Okay. And these are particularly also that I'm not going to leave this out. Also, we have to also, when we're talking about the mental status, the mental state, or the status of what they're thinking or what they're experiencing, we also can't leave out the fact that individuals who have suffered strokes also will tend to make some mistakes, some bad judgments, or will do things that kind of defies logic for most of us who've never experienced that. Okay. And I can say from knowing people and experience that that is a difficult road. Now let's just give her the benefit. Let's just give this woman, Carly Russell, the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say for a moment, okay, let's play the devil's advocate. I mean, would you agree, Earl? Let's play the devil's advocate on that, because we can't. I'm not gonna condemn or crucify her, because I have to also give accolades to the Hoover Police Department, because even he went on to say, we don't know what her mindset is or was, and we're not going to get into that. We're not. We need to find out more. And when we're talking about this, and then and going into this, we also have to understand and address that. What we also have to come to the realization, and also start addressing the fact of mental illness in the Black community. And we don't talk enough about that. We don't have enough resources to combat this. And one of the other things, I won't say problems, one of the other things we as Black people is that we don't want to discuss that. We don't want to acknowledge that, or we don't want to seek help for that, because we're saying, well, if why do I need to go to a psychiatrist? That's white people. Mental illness is white people problem. Listen, mental illness, mental health has no color. It just, whatever it is, it just shows up and it does what it does. If you're an individual that suffers from, chronic depression, or levels of anxiety, bipolar depression, those have had strokes, they may have short-term memory, and this is this thing, short-term memory loss, to where you could tell them something, and 5 minutes later it's as if that you're talking to the moon, and they don't remember. That also is a form. That's also a small form of mental deficiency. Now, the stroke is mental deficiency. Then we're talking about mental illness, bipolar, depression, anxiety, various other things. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, I'm going to play the devil's advocate in this. I'm not going to condemn her, because I can't speak on what her mindset is. Now, she very well could have been going through a couple of things and just needed to escape. She just didn't know how to do it in the, shall we say, in the appropriate manner. There are some people, when they're going through a situation, some people will just get up and walk out, and in the middle of probably in the middle of a conversation, middle of a function, they will get up, leave all of their belongings, and they will walk out the door and go down the street or jump in their car, and then they will sometimes either disappear for a couple of days or check themselves into a mental facility, or in some instances, even worse, they cross the line into suicide. So these are things that we don't talk about in the Black community amongst ourselves. And we have to have these open conversations or dialogues about this thing, because understand something, when we sit there and we say that somebody's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, or their cheese slid off their crackers, or their, or their bowl, they somehow or another, they turned over their bowl of Cheerios. We say that sometimes in jokingly, but in all honesty, it's very serious. Some of us are blessed to each and every day to get up and have all our faculties, to where we can get up and we actually know we actually plan out what we're going to do, or we know what we're going to do. Or even, I'm going to make it even simpler. We can get up and we can put our feet on the floor and bend over and tie our shoes, put on our own clothes, and make sure. And if you button up a shirt, you can button. The buttons are lined up. Or you're going into the kitchen and making a cup of coffee. Whereas some people have that. That's a difficult thing. Or sometimes some people won't get out of the bed. And then here's the other thing too. And before, like I said, and while, that's fresh in my mind, and while we're still, or, while it's still early, hey, if you have a comment, you have a comment, or even, concerning this matter, please feel free to give me a call here at the studio, 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. Tonight, we're going to discuss mental health, mental illness. We're discussing that. Okay. And I really, and if you are listening, wherever you are, by all means, give me a call here. Well, wow. Just be anyway. It is what it is. But also too, this is, some of these, when we get into the, and then we don't, sometimes, and I know people who are medicated, who are taking medication, or who medicate themselves, or who have to be medicated. I know, for even if for if it was me, I know for a fact I wouldn't want to be taking medication all of my life, for the rest of my life. But on the flip side, if that's what keeps my cereal in the bowl, if that's what keeps my cheese from sliding off the cracker, if that's what keeps my choo-choo train wheels on the track, by all means, do this. Take that. Do what you need to do. Do what you have to do. By all means. When you we also sometimes, and it's difficult to we gotta. Hello, hey, welcome to the show. Who do I have, and where are you calling from?
This is Sandra calling from Iowa.
All right, we got Iowa in the house here. We got Iowa in the house. See, that's what I'm talking about. But go ahead. I'm all ears.
I just wanted to touch on the Carly Russell situation just really quick. So it's really unfortunate that I don't know what her train of thought was, or what is going on in her personal life. I mean, but I still pray for her, because if it is mental illness or whatever that caused her to come up with this elaborate scheme or whatever, that's really unfortunate, and she does need to, seek help for that. And I really mean that, like, just genuinely and sincerely. But I cannot hide the fact that I am a bit pissed off with her as well, because Black people and people of color don't receive nearly a fraction of the media coverage that we deserve when it comes to us missing, being murdered, trafficked, or anything. We don't get that media coverage. And so for all of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Reddit, whatever the hell, for every social media platform to be tuned in to, hey, save Carly Russell, let's get this girl, because this sounded like an elaborate, this sounds like, something a trafficker would do. Oh, let me place this toddler here. This really sounded, it was really believable. And it really played on the emotions and the empathy and the sympathy of millions of people. And you have missing, there are people that have missing children that have been murdered or trafficked that were out there, really hearts out there, and you open those trauma wounds for those people. So I cannot hide the fact that I'm pissed off that has happened to those people as well, because that's not right. That's not right. It's not okay. Not at all.
I agree. Yeah. And you mentioned missing, murdered, and trafficking. Now, years ago, and I think you remember the two sisters, the Bradley sisters,
Diamond and Tianda Bradley. I was 11 years old the summer that they went missing.
And the fact that
around the corner from where I live.
Wow. And that's another thing. And one of the things that I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that we don't do. And see, we're looking at white people when they say, well, white people keep when their kids go missing, or their let me rephrase that. When their family member goes missing, they constantly keep it in the minds of people. Media coverage, news, whatever.
Everything.
Now, and we have to we take this mentality that, well, it takes money to do that. No, it doesn't. You can go down to Costco, Staples, get a bunch of signs and some crayons, and stand out there on the street corner and say, this child is missing, or my loved one is missing. and the fact that the media is so open now to where you can reach out to them more freely now, because now they're so hungry for stories that they want to keep this going. And the lack of coverage for blacks going missing, murdered, and trafficking, in my honest opinion, with the two Bradley sisters, and the fact that the father was a African nationalist, African national, took those children to Africa, and they were so young to certain aspects of their life they don't remember, and then when they're groomed into a different culture and into the Eastern culture, and the Western culture has been completely wiped away, they wouldn't even know that they were missing. Because because they've been conditioned into another mentality. And at the same time, we don't push the issue of blacks, and the scary thing about it, that there are more black women that go missing every day, and every day, not every year, but every day, and every day. And not to drift too far. And the thing about that, some of these black women that are going missing are women who may have been suffering from some form of mental illness or some form of trauma, and they've been discarded like an old newspaper. It's like, and we have to become more active in our own community, because make no mistake, the Italians do it, the Chinese do it, the Hispanics do it. They're active, very, very active, very. But continue.
But also within their communities, within the Asian community, or within the Latino community, they're more united, and we cannot deny that as a Black community.
Very true.
That there are other communities and other nations that despite all the travesties they may have been through, they are definitely united regardless. They're not in competition with, oh, well, you got a nicer car, or your daughter has, goes to a better school. They don't care about that, because guess what? I'm trying to get like you, so I'm going to help you get your daughter into this school. I'm going to help you build yourself up to get this car. I'm going to help build our neighborhood up. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So we can come together for some bull. I know that. We can come to party, we can come drink, we can come smoke. But when it really comes to standing on principles and doing what is right and building one another up, it seems that we get this nasty mentality of, I have to be in competition with my brother or my sister. For what?
Well,
because we're all trying to reach the same goal.
Well, right. And see what happens, and how that happens too, is, as I often say, with my generation, and when I say my generation, I'm talking about the generation that we're 50 or better, is that we have groomed we groom our children to compete with one another instead of to competing with the world. You can't. It's like a team. You can't, if every member of the team is competing against one another, how are you going to go out and win against a team that you are supposed to be competing against? Because all of your energy is against one another, instead of putting it towards where we work together to defeat for lack of a better word, to defeat a common enemy. This
Absolutely.
is where, this is what and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that some of us in my generation have basically dropped the football and dropped the football in the end zone, and then wind up kicking it out of the back of the end zone, and then standing there looking goofy. It's unfortunate, but this is where we have to some point to where the second generation or the third generation, meaning my children and my grandchildren, where they have to change as I often say, change the narrative. Change the narrative. And if you change the narrative, that filters down to the third generation and possibly the fourth generation, to where they no longer say, hey, there's some bullshit here. We can't, I'm not taking that. We're not going to do this.
I agree. And see, I believe that my generation, us millennials, I believe that my generation is the generation that's like, hey, you know what? This some BS. We're not going to raise our children like this. Just because I was raised like this or taught that this was normal, that doesn't mean that this is okay. You know, so I feel myself, I'm breaking generational curses or just, you know, silly traditions even. Okay? Because I will never get the idea of starving all fucking day on Thanksgiving just to gorge. I ain't gonna ever get with that ever. I never understood that. I'm not gonna get with that shit. You know what I mean? Or even if my child is expressing themselves and another adult feels that, oh, your child is too grown. No, because here's the thing. I'm teaching my child, emotional regulation so that they're not going to anger as their first go-to when they're, overwhelmed. Because it's not okay. You can't just walk around punching people or punching walls because you're pissed off or you're overwhelmed. No, you sit down, you take a breath, you think about this. Let's talk this out. Let's walk this through. Let's journal this. Teaching the next generation, like, hey, there's a different way. There's a better way. There's a more enlightened way.
Well,
the dysfunction that my generation was born into, bred into, and had to grow. Man, we're undoing that trauma by going to therapy and unlearning all those unhealthy things. You feel me?
Right.
And we're trying, but it's not an easy feat. It's really not. But we're trying. That's what we're trying.
Well, you know what? We're
recognizing our mental illness, hence us seeking therapy. We're talking about it because growing up, I had a mother. You living, you breathing, you got a roof over your head, got cool clothes on your back, you got the necessities, you're good to go. What the fuck are you crying for? Let's go. There are people that got it worse than you. It was suck it up. Well, guess what? My stomach hurts, and I'm having a bad day. My stomach hurts. You know what I mean? Yeah, somebody got it worse than me. Yeah, I know that there's a child out there with leukemia, or there's a kid whose parent is. I understand that, but I'm talking about, hey, I got a tummy ache right now. I'm not feeling 100%. I need some reassurance. I need a little more love. I need a little more affection. That's
right. It's a different. It's a different. As I say, it's a different age. Every generation is considered. Each generation is considered a different age because, my parents, the way that they did things are gravely different from the way their parents did things, and flipping that over is that now they're things that I do differently than my parents, and then watching my children, they're doing different. They do different things, different things the way I would do. But in the same token, a little bit they take. We all take a little bit from that, and we bridge generations to where there are no gaps, and each child, child or children, when they are able to function, able to apply certain things of what they know, able to problem solve, and one of the biggest things too is that what my generation did not teach their children is, or not say teach, but give them. They did not give them problem solving skills.
You're right. There's a lot of millennials or even Gen Zers that are not critical thinkers. Some of the people that I work with, I tell you, they make things more complicated than they have to be. I kid you not, because they simply cannot think critically. So here they are, overcomplicating a situation, putting themselves and residents or whatever at risk.
Yep. And when and the biggest thing is like you said earlier, to piggyback off something, is the part about the mental health is that I would consider the third generation, meaning our children, my children, that you all recognize, this generation recognizes, hey, certain things are not right. Hey, I'm screwed up some way. I'm screwed up in the head. I'm dealing with things that I'm not sure. But not only that, but see, you all have they have the different technology now, to where all you need to do is go to AI. All you need to go to Siri, Alexa, and Google, and say, hey, what's this? Hey, what's that? We didn't have that. What we had to do, Earl? We had to go to the library if we had to find something. That was our Alexa and Google and Siri. We had to go. We had the you remember the Britannia, Earl, you remember the Britannia dictionaries?
The Britannica.
Britannica, was it Britannica?
Let me interject
Encyclopedia.
Here, time out. You're right. The encyclopedia. Let me call it time out. Millennials. We are the generation that bridges literal, the digital and the analog. We are that generation. See, we are the generation that was raised with going to the library, and we were introduced into technology in Y2K. Okay, so let me correct you. Now, Gen Z, they are the generation that is all technology. Okay, and the generation underneath them, they're all techno. Okay, let me just inform you a little bit. Okay, so I can agree with some of the things you say because I was there in the 90s baby. Hey, hello, early 90s. So I'm just saying, wanted to correct you a little bit, but
I have no problem with that.
Back to you.
No problem. But we each generation creates a different era or a different age, and even when you know, and I've noticed that these children, especially the third generation set of children, they're completely different from the previous set, even before that, because they tend to pick up things a lot quicker, absorb things a lot quicker, solving. They've already figured out, hey, I'm not going to sit here all day and try to put this square block into this round peg. I mean, this square in this round hole. It's never going to work. I've already figured that out, and I'm only 6 months old. Why are you forcing me? And and way back when, well, try to see if it'll fit. No, you see, that's the part of where you're grooming someone into trying to create what they call shucks, it escapes me, but a level of backwards determination that's not going to work no matter what you do. I knew it. This is an interesting story, and I have to tell. Indoctrination. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell.
If we get to talking about the American school system, what is that?
Oh my gosh, we could go on and on.
They'll shut you down on your radio station, so I'll leave that alone. This is an interesting story, and it's interesting. It's a true story. It was told to me, and the fact that I kind of came in on the tail end of it. So talking about levels of determination, which wind up being a level, truth be told, a level of, for lack of a better word, stupidity. So this guy, he got this couch, and the way that his house was designed, he trying to figure out, okay, try to get it through the back door, wouldn't go through the back door because there's a curve. So the couch, obviously it's a couch. It's not going to bend. It's not going to do anything. He brought it around to the front door, and he was trying to figure that one out because the bend in the front, the bend at the front door was even smaller because you had a little coat. It was a little coat room, and you had to make a quick right. So the couch was not going to go that way. And and it got to a point where this guy even thought about trying to figure out if he could fit it through the living room window. True story. I can't make this up. I'm not that clever. So what this individual, and then as they begin to tell me the story, I said, well, what happened? They told me, he even thought about sawing the couch in half. I said, you have got to be kidding me. Right.
So as he begins to continue to elaborate, I said, well, did he ever get the couch in? He got it in. And what he did is that he sawed the legs off the couch. And the fourth leg, as he was attempting to saw it, the leg turned and he realized they screwed off.
You know what?
I couldn't believe the story when it was told to me. I was like, you absolutely have to be kidding me. But this is the part of what I'm referencing of certain levels of indoctrination. We cannot teach our children certain things. We have to come to the realization that certain things, it is what it is. This is not going to work. No matter what you do or how you do it or what you say, it's not going to work. It's not. And we have to accept that. We have to figure out an alternative, say, okay, you know what, this is not going to happen. I need to do something different. This is how we're able to teach our children how to, this is problem solving. There's some things that we have to teach them. There are two aspects on situations. There's a problem and then there's an issue. The difference between the two is that a problem always has a solution. It just takes time for you to find it. No matter what. It's like math. Math always has a solution. It's a formula. No matter what, it's always going to have a solution. No matter what. Well, I don't, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It's just I'm not. My math skills are they consist of four. They consist of the four food groups: adding, multiplying, subtraction, and division. That's it. Anything beyond that, it's over with. And I'm not going to lie to anybody, but I'm not going to attempt either, because then after that point, it becomes confusing. And so I say, okay, then you turn, that's why, hey, I've turned over to somebody who knows more about this than I do. You can forget, in high school, they gave me algebra and I crashed and burned in algebra 1. Then they turned around and gave me algebra 2. What do you think was going to happen with the first plane you gave me? What do you think was going to happen? It's going to crash and burn. Yes. But the other thing is that when we get, and I'm glad you mentioned that, as far as mental illness, that we are addressed, that we're getting to a point where we're addressing this. We are seeking the help that is needed. One of the other things that I believe that also would help us is if we had more not so much healthcare, that's not what I'm looking for, more therapists, more Black therapists, that people that look like us, Blacks, more people, more the therapists, more psychologists, more Black psychologists, because
more diversity in healthcare, so that people have people that relate to them.
Right.
Doctors, firefighters, policemen, teachers. I mean, just more people, just all around, just diversity in all areas, in politics, all areas, that can relate to all, you know what I mean? Just different people, different walks of life.
I agree.
You never believe that my pastor can relate to, being out there in the streets, or having to, do things to, break the law, or buy whatever to provide for his family, or whatever the case may be.
I agree.
Real positions that are transparent,
Right.
It makes it easier to receive that care. There are a lot of people, Black people and Latino people, that walk into hospitals, especially, and doctor's office, and don't get the help that they need because they did not understand. Not that they couldn't comprehend the English that was spoken, or the language. They are not understanding the vernacular, the verbiage, the complicated. It's not put in layman's terms. It's not broken down by someone that looks like them or speaks like them, so that they understand that this condition is serious, or you need to continue and follow up and seek help, or what this condition actually means.
That is, and that is absolutely right. And when you're able,
I'm sorry, but that's what pushes me to continue school and to become a nurse, because I live in a very rural area where there are not many people that look like me and hold positions that I hold. So when I see someone that walks into, a hospital or a nursing home, and they're looking for a familiar face, someone that can relate to them. I can also speak Spanish as a Black woman. That is also a benefit, because that not just benefits me or my household and teaching my children, but it benefits the Latino people in this community and where I live, because it's very limited. Very limited on people of color, like I said, in nursing and doctor positions, or in the police force, or teachers. So that makes a difference when you see or feel that warmth or familiar face.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree. Absolutely. We're in a different time. We're, like I say, we're in a different age, but a lot of the information that we have now is so readily available. It's just that we have to learn how to it's out there. We just have to learn just how to grab it. And then at the same time, when we grab it, we know exactly what to do with it, instead of just sitting on a shelf.
The truth within that though too, because also with the internet, unfortunately, there is a lot of misinformation out there.
Mm-hmm.
So seeking the truth as well.
Yep. Very true. Very, very true. Very true. Very true. But I appreciate your call, caller from Iowa. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate that. Hey, hopefully we're reaching a few more, reaching out a few more places and a few more people that, you're watching or you're listening, and you're gathering as much information as you can. And as we continue our journey, I often say this, you know, life is what it is. And not only that, but life is what you make it also. If you spend every waking day thinking about how bad things are or how difficult the world is or this, that, and the other, if you're constantly living in that that mindset, how will you be able to appreciate the good when it does come? How can you be able to appreciate the good when it's meant that good is meant for you? This is also another form of mental unhappiness too. Is that when something good comes, certain people tend, and this is both men and women, and to a degree, there are some that it's more men that sometimes self-sabotage themselves. I mean, it's a common, it's men and women do this. There are women that self-sabotage their themselves in relationships, jobs, with their children, because they lack the coping skills, or they lack the mechanism of dealing with certain things. And so in order to get it away from you, you'll find some reason to not be happy, some reason to find something bad, something that you can make work for you that's not good. That is a huge issue. Huge issue. If everything, like I said, if you're looking at everything bad in the world, everything, yes, we know that there are levels of difficulties, but at the same time, there's also moments of goodness. And if you're constantly delving into everything that's bad, how are you going to respond when the good comes? How is that supposed to happen? You have to take a moment and think about that. Take a moment. If you're one of those individuals to where you just can't as a quote unquote, you can't find the silver lining in the clouds, then you need to look at yourself, because it's there, because most of us see it. We know that, okay, it's a Monday. We often talked about, how difficult Mondays can be. Okay. How, that's just it. As I went through my day at my job, it was, I went into the office and just laughed, just had a couple of laughs and they say, well, what's going on? I say, no, it's just a Monday. Just a Monday. What we gonna do? We're gonna go out here. We're gonna do our job. We're gonna make the day. That's it, and that's all. What's in the day? What's happening? What's in it? It's just part of the process. Us complaining about it or focusing on it, it's not going to change that. Just be thankful that you were able to open your eyes today on this Monday. Yes, it was a little hot today, but just be thankful, because somebody didn't wake up. They didn't open their eyes, so they don't get to feel that heat on them, because they're going someplace else. They're on their way. They're on their way to meet their maker, or as they say, on their way to judgment. So we have to look at a lot of different things and gather and get an understanding. And scripturally even says that, in all thy getting, get thee an understanding. First and foremost, get an understanding. First and foremost. That's what we have to do. And when we're able to understand certain aspects, certain things, and this is the other part too, this other part that I am a proponent of, is that of philosophy. And hence the definition of philosophy is gaining the understanding of all aspects of life, all aspects. That's that's men, women, children, the way of the world, the sky, space, the atmosphere, the wind, trees, everything. Getting an understanding on what and why, how this works. Why is this here? And then gathering, and then when you start to study that, and it's the study of why things the way they are. That's what philosophy is. And then you come to an understanding on that. That's what it is. If you have made, and here's the other thing too, when you give light to certain things, this is also another part of philosophy, but also understanding ourselves. When you give light to certain things, certain um, bad things, or for lack of a better word, bad things, when you give light to how much pain that you're in during the course of a day, or how um unsettled you feel in your spirit, or your financial situation is not where you would like it to be, or your house or your car, whatever the case may be. When you spend a lot of time dwelling on that, dwelling and complaining on it, you just give it more life to continue to do what it does. When we talk about how much pain that we're in, whether it's whether me and our hands, our elbows, our hips, knees, feet, we understand that that's part of the growth of growth and part of life. But when we continue to dwell on it, it only gives it power. And we have to fully and understand this. Words have power, not so much as meaning, but they have power. And we have to be mindful on what we say, and then when we do, we have to let's work on speaking on the goodness. Yes, you know what? I'm in a little, you know what pain is? Pain is weakness leaving the body. You know what pain is? Pain is letting you know that you're alive. You are alive. If you are dealing with a certain financial situation, and you have no idea how you're going to get out of it, well, just take a moment and back and just think about what led you there, or how you're going to restructure. Now, sometimes you have to restructure things. Rome was not built in a day, not at all. And also, what also helps is also getting your house in order. Meaning, when I say getting your house in order, if there is a level of chaos within your home, you need to deal with that. You need to straighten it out, or get it out, or get it together, because this also will help open the gateway for good things to happen, good things to come. When and to piggy and to horseshoe this, when we talk about mental illness in the Black community, also too, there's levels that we have to acknowledge that it does exist, but also we don't have to give light to it. Also, there's a point to where, hey, we have some things we have to deal with. We have to forge through. Sometimes a lot, and even too, sometimes a lot of mental illness happens due to certain levels of trauma, hereditary, various other things. But when we acknowledge that, then we have a better idea on how to manage this. See, basically, what we're talking about in doing things, life is about managing things. It's like one gigantic. I look at it as a gigantic chessboard, one big chessboard where you're managing your pieces. The object is to get as many pieces across the board as possible, and at the same time, taking a few of the opposition out on your way of doing that. I say this all the time. In order to achieve peace, war is necessary, and that's where we're at. Try to get as many pieces across the board as you possibly can. It's about strategy. It's about strategizing. And not only that, but also part of this is taking calculated risks. You cannot, in the game of life, you cannot, and I can't stress this enough, you cannot be a spectator in the game of life. You have to be a doer, not a spectator. Because if you notice, if you ever go into a game and you see the spectators are always talking about what they would do. But then you take those same spectators and you put them in the real game, they fold up. They fold up like a lawn chair. Some of those spectators fold up like lawn chairs. These are things that we have to understand and we have to look at. Another caveat or way of looking at it too, we have this too. We have sheep and we have wolves. You have to decide which one you want to be. A wolf or a sheep. In order to maintain, if we learn to understand the difference between maintaining and surviving, it gives you a different perspective on how to make it opens up a better thought process, I should say. A better thought process, because when I say surviving, if your bills are out the ass, your money is not where you just can't seem to get ahead, or you're living from paycheck to paycheck. You're always stressing out about you're surviving, and that's not how that's supposed to be. You want to be able to maintain, so where if something does arise, you're able to take care of that, but you still got enough over here in the kitty to continue on. Surviving or maintaining. And I want you all to think about that as you go through the next 5 months of this year, and decide, hey, do I want to continue to survive, or do I want to be able to be in a position to maintain? And make no mistake, maintaining is a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and a lot more fun. I know we're all struggling. I know we all trying to get to that point. And granted, this is not condemning anyone, because even to understand, I've been there. I've been on that survival ship. I've been in that, I won't say ship, but I've been in that water, been in those waters of survival. I want to be in the boat of maintaining. That's where I want to be. This is where we have to start thinking, which is the frame of thinking that we have to be. So with that being said, I see the lights flashing and the distance, and the helicopter's about to land. So which means that's all the time that we have here on Black Conservative Podcasts. Hey, you all, when you go out to the next day, keep these particular things in mind, these little caveats. It's not that hard. But anyway, with that being said, not my monkey, not my circus. See you all later.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.